She said kiss them, so I did. Welcome to Goddess Foot Confessions. Let's uncover what really happened. The evening settled around us like a soft blanket, the room awash in golden lamplight that cast long shadows and softened every edge. I sat nervously, unsure how much of myself I could reveal, how much I dared to let show. Across from me, she kicked off her shoes with a casual grace, the slight flex of her bare feet instantly capturing my attention. Her toes spread lightly on the carpet, skin smooth and pale in the dim light. I tried to focus on the conversation, but my eyes kept drifting to the subtle movements of her feet, the slow curl of a toe, the gentle arch of her sole, the way the light played across the soft skin. My breath hitched more than once. She glanced up, meeting my gaze with a knowing smile that sent a warm thrill through me. There was something unspoken between us, a fragile thread of connection I felt but could not name. When she shifted her position and her foot brushed against my leg, I swallowed hard, feeling the warmth spread from that simple touch. Was it deliberate? Or just chance? The silence between us thickened, charged with something electric and new. I dared not look away. Her voice dropped to a whisper, low and inviting. Kiss them, she said softly, nodding toward her feet. My heart pounded in my chest. I hesitated, caught between fear and longing. Then, slowly, reverently, I leaned forward and pressed my lips to the curve of her arch. The softness beneath my lips was like nothing I had ever known, tender, alive, and deeply intimate. In that moment, the world shifted. The quiet room, the dim light, the gentle weight of her bare feet in my hands. Everything spoke of a connection deeper than words. A new chapter had begun. The moment she slipped off her shoes, something shifted in the air between us. The faint click against the hardwood floor seemed louder somehow, echoing through the quiet room. Her feet, bare and unguarded, touched the cool carpet with effortless grace. I could hardly look away. The way her toes splayed just slightly, the soft curve of her heel, the delicate arch rising and falling as she settled into the cushions. There was a quiet confidence in the way she moved, a casual elegance that felt like an invitation and a secret all at once. My eyes traced the gentle lines of her feet, feeling the pulse of an unspoken tension beneath the surface. I noticed how her skin caught the light, warm and smooth, untouched by the world outside. She caught me staring and raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing at her lips. No words were spoken, but the moment stretched between us, thick with something unnameable yet deeply felt. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how loud my own heartbeat seemed. Was it possible she sensed it too? The curious way my gaze lingered longer than it should, the heat rising quietly in my chest. Her toes flexed deliberately, and my breath caught in response. It was a simple gesture, yet charged, like a secret language we both understood. She stretched her foot forward, the tips of her toes just brushing my jeans, light as a whisper. My muscles tensed involuntarily, and I fought the urge to reach out. "Are you all right?" she asked softly, voice low and inviting. I nodded, though my voice felt lost somewhere inside. The silence returned, wrapping us in its fragile cocoon. The warmth of her presence seemed to seep into me, awakening something I hadn't expected, a tender, cautious desire that was as thrilling as it was terrifying. The evening was just beginning, but I already knew it would be unforgettable. The air between us seemed to pulse softly, as if the room itself was breathing in time with our unspoken connection. She shifted her position, moving a little closer on the couch, the soft rustle of fabric barely audible. Her bare feet rested just inches from me, and I could feel the heat radiating from her skin, a warmth that was almost magnetic. Her eyes met mine, steady and confident, carrying a depth that made my chest tighten. There was no need for words. Her gaze alone was enough, a silent invitation to cross a boundary I hadn't dared approach before. I wanted to tell her how much I was drawn to her, how every small movement she made sent ripples through me, but the words caught in my throat. She extended her leg slowly, deliberately, until her foot hovered just above my knee. The tips of her toes twitched, as if teasing me, daring me to reach out. I swallowed, feeling the weight of the moment, the fragile tension that held us both suspended. Then, without breaking eye contact, she let her foot brush against my thigh, soft, featherlight, barely there. My breath hitched, and I felt an unexpected thrill course through me. Was this accidental? Or was she testing the waters, exploring this new closeness as much as I was? I found myself unable to look away. The gentle flex of her toes, the curve of her arch, the subtle pulse of her skin beneath the soft light. It all became an intoxicating dance I wanted to be part of. The silence between us grew heavier, thicker, until it felt like a language all its own. Her smile deepened, and she whispered, almost inaudibly, "Kiss them." My heart pounded fiercely. That single phrase was an opening, a door I hadn't expected but was eager to walk through. Slowly, reverently, I moved my hand toward her foot, the air thick with anticipation. Her foot rested lightly in my palm, warm and soft, every contour alive under my fingers. I marveled at the delicate curve of her arch, the gentle swell of her heel, the graceful line where her toes flexed subtly. My breath trembled as I realized how much this small contact meant, how deeply it stirred something inside me. She watched me closely, eyes gleaming with a quiet amusement. "You don't have to be nervous," she said gently, her voice a soothing balm that melted the tension knotted in my shoulders. "Just be present." I nodded, though the steady pounding of my heart threatened to betray my calm exterior. Slowly, carefully, I pressed my lips to the soft skin of her foot, beginning at the curve near her heel. The warmth beneath my mouth was electric, a sensation both tender and charged with unspoken desire. Her toes twitched, and I felt a shiver ripple through her body, mirroring my own. The silence deepened, filled with a delicate tension that neither of us dared break. It was a fragile moment, a secret shared in the quiet intimacy of the room. Her foot traced lazy circles on my hand, the smoothness of her skin against mine a silent communication, trust, invitation, a hint of something more. I couldn't stop staring at the way her toes flexed, or the soft rise and fall of her sole. Each movement was a whisper, a language of closeness that needed no words. I felt myself relax, the initial nervousness fading into a gentle warmth. The night stretched before us, full of possibilities, each one weighted with the promise of discovery. She smiled softly, and I knew this was just the beginning. The room felt smaller, cozier, as if the space between us had contracted with every touch and glance. The lamp's light softened the edges of the evening, bathing her bare feet in a warm glow that made them seem almost radiant. I couldn't help but trace my eyes over the delicate lines, the gentle arch, the subtle curve of her heel, the way her toes flexed and curled like the petals of a rare flower. She shifted, nudging her foot slightly so that it rested more fully in my hands. Her skin was silky smooth, warm and inviting, and the faint pulse of her blood beneath the surface seemed to echo the rhythm of my own racing heart. Our eyes met again, and in that look was a universe of understanding, a recognition of something fragile, tentative, but also undeniable. The silence stretched out, heavy with expectation and the kind of quiet intimacy that makes time seem to slow. Her foot brushed my thigh again, lighter this time, like a question. "Are you with me?" My fingers tightened just slightly, an unspoken yes. She smiled, the kind of smile that held secrets and promises both, and I felt the warmth in my chest deepen. The world outside faded into a distant hum, irrelevant compared to the charged closeness we now shared. There was no rush, no pressure to define what was happening. It was enough to simply be here, in this moment, sharing the slow build of something rare and precious. The softness of her bare skin, the way her toes flexed against me, the gentle rise and fall of her breath, all of it stirred something deep within me, a longing that was as beautiful as it was unexpected. She curled up on the couch, settling deeper into the cushions, her feet stretched out and bare. The warmth of the room wrapped around us, the soft carpet beneath her feet adding to the feeling of comfort and ease. I found myself drawn again to those quiet moments, watching the subtle movements of her toes, the way her heels pressed lightly into the fabric of the sofa. Her skin glowed softly in the lamp's light, every contour of her feet seeming to tell a story. The gentle flex of her toes, the soft arch rising with a natural grace, it all held a hypnotic beauty. I couldn't help but imagine how it would feel beneath my hands, the softness, the warmth, the quiet strength hidden there. She caught me watching and smiled, that knowing look again. Without a word, she lifted her foot and rested it gently on my knee. The touch was light but full of meaning, a wordless invitation that sent a thrill racing through me. I reached out carefully, tracing my fingers along the curve of her foot, feeling the delicate tension in her muscles as she flexed her toes slowly. The silence between us stretched, thick with anticipation, but somehow comforting. The world felt smaller, the night deeper. Her eyes held mine, steady and unblinking, and I knew that this moment was building towards something profound, something that would change the way I saw her and myself. Our conversations grew quieter, replaced by long stretches of silence filled only by the soft sounds of the room, the gentle rustle of fabric, the slow, steady breaths we shared. I found myself searching her eyes for signs, clues to what she felt beneath the surface. She didn't speak much about it, but her body language said everything. The way her bare feet found their way to rest against me, the subtle shifts in her posture when I touched her gently. It was a slow, careful dance of trust and discovery. Sometimes, her foot would brush mine accidentally, the contact brief but electric. Each time, I felt something stir in me, a mix of desire and hesitation, curiosity and restraint. I couldn't stop staring at the delicate curve of her arch, the way her toes curled when she was lost in thought. One night, she looked at me with a softness that took my breath away and whispered, "Kiss them when I say." Those words hung between us like a secret promise, and I found myself waiting for the moment when she would give me permission, the moment when I could cross that invisible line. It was a slow build, a careful unraveling of something delicate and profound, and I was powerless to resist. Her voice was barely more than a breath, yet it carried a weight that made my heart skip. "Kiss them," she said, nodding toward her feet with a gentle smile. The command was soft but firm, an invitation wrapped in mystery. I hesitated for a moment, nerves twisting in my stomach. The quiet room seemed to hold its breath, waiting alongside me. Slowly, reverently, I brought her foot closer, letting my fingers cradle the soft curve of her heel. My lips brushed against her skin, warm and tender, a delicate kiss that spoke of reverence and wonder. Her toes twitched at the touch, and I felt the silent pulse of connection deepen between us. She watched me closely, eyes shimmering with something unspoken. Trust, maybe, or desire, or a mix of both. The silence grew, thick with anticipation, as if the world itself had paused to witness what was unfolding. Her foot flexed gently in my hand, the smooth skin alive beneath my touch. I couldn't stop staring at the way her toes moved, the subtle arch rising and falling as if breathing with me. The moment was fragile, electric, and utterly intimate. We lingered in that space, the quiet intimacy weaving a bond neither of us fully understood, yet both desperately wanted to explore. The first kiss to her toes was hesitant, almost shy, a tender brush of lips that sent a shiver racing through me. The softness beneath my mouth was intoxicating, every contour a delicate invitation. I pressed again, a little more firmly this time, savoring the warmth and subtle pulse of life beneath my lips. Her foot flexed under my touch, toes curling in slow, sensual rhythm. I could feel the gentle rise and fall of her breath through our silent communion, the room thick with an unspoken promise. My hands cradled her foot as if it were the most precious thing I'd ever held, every nerve ending alive with sensation. The silence between us grew, expanding to fill the space with something more than words could capture, a fragile, beautiful intimacy that felt like the beginning of everything. She looked at me then, eyes wide and searching, a mix of vulnerability and strength. No words were needed. Everything was said in that gaze, in the soft flex of her toes, in the warmth we shared. The night stretched ahead, full of quiet possibilities. And I knew that this first kiss was only the start of a journey neither of us could have anticipated, but both were eager to follow. The atmosphere between us had changed, shifting like the gentle breeze that stirs leaves on a quiet autumn evening. The soft light from the lamp cast a warm glow on her bare feet resting in my lap, and I could feel the electricity humming beneath that simple contact. Every movement she made seemed charged with intention, yet delicate, a slow dance between vulnerability and confidence. Her toes curled slowly, tracing invisible patterns on my skin, and I couldn't help but close my eyes to savor the sensation. The warmth beneath her feet spread through me, melting away the lingering nerves and replacing them with a deep, steady yearning. It was an energy I hadn't expected but couldn't deny. She shifted closer, the subtle brush of her foot against my thigh sending ripples through my body. Our eyes met, the silent language between us growing richer, more urgent. There was no rush, just a shared understanding, a promise held in the quiet spaces between words and touch. The silence grew thick, the kind that wraps around you and holds you close. I felt the tension coil inside me, taut and waiting, balanced precariously between restraint and release. Her foot flexed again, slow and teasing, as if daring me to follow where she led. I reached up, fingers trembling slightly, and gently traced the curve of her arch. She sighed softly, a sound that melted into the hush of the room. The connection between us deepened, unspoken, intimate, electric. In that moment, I realized this was more than just a fleeting fascination. It was a bond forming, a shared secret blossoming in the soft glow of the evening. And I knew, without question, that I was ready to see where it might lead. The distance between us seemed to shrink with every passing breath. She moved closer on the couch, her bare foot now fully resting against my leg, the warmth seeping through my clothes and settling deep inside me. The room felt smaller, more intimate, as if the rest of the world had fallen away, leaving just the two of us suspended in this fragile moment. Her eyes held mine with an intensity that made my heart race. The way her toes twitched subtly, the soft curve of her heel pressed against my thigh. Each detail pulled me deeper into a world where time slowed and every sensation was magnified. I found myself trembling slightly, vulnerable yet exhilarated, caught in the delicate balance between fear and desire. Her foot traced slow, deliberate circles on my skin, the softness and warmth a silent invitation to trust, to surrender. My hands moved instinctively, cradling her ankle, exploring the smooth skin with reverence. The quiet rhythm of her breath mingled with mine, and I felt an overwhelming sense of connection, a shared intimacy that defied explanation. She smiled softly, a quiet reassurance, and I let myself lean into the moment. The touch of her bare foot against me was like a secret whispered in the dark, fragile, electric, and deeply meaningful. The world outside faded even further, and all that remained was the warmth, the closeness, the unspoken promise in the way our bodies aligned. I was no longer just an observer. I was part of something new, something beautiful, something uncharted. Her foot moved with a gentle confidence, fingers intertwined with the curve of her ankle as her toes traced lazy, languid circles along my thigh. The sensation was subtle, yet electric, each soft caress stirring a quiet hunger inside me that I struggled to understand, much less name. The glow from the lamp cast shadows that danced across her skin, highlighting every delicate line and curve. I watched, mesmerized, as her toes flexed slowly, each motion a silent message of trust and invitation. I couldn't tear my eyes away. The silence between us was heavy with meaning, filled with the unspoken desires and vulnerabilities we both held close. I felt the steady pulse of her warmth beneath my hands, a living connection that bridged the gap between us. I dared to lean closer, letting my fingers brush lightly along the smooth skin of her heel. She shivered, a soft sigh escaping her lips that sent a ripple through me. Our breaths mingled in the quiet room, and the space between us seemed to hum with possibility. Her foot pressed gently against my leg, the contact feather-light yet firm, grounding me in the present moment. I closed my eyes, letting the sensations wash over me. The softness, the warmth, the undeniable tension that hung in the air. It was a delicate dance, one of subtle movements and quiet gestures, each touch building the fragile intimacy that was blossoming between us. I wanted to hold on to this moment, to savor the slow unfolding of something profound and new. Our communication had become something beyond words, a silent language spoken through glances, touches, and the gentle movement of her bare feet against me. Every flicker of her toes, every subtle flex of her arch, seemed to carry a message only my heart could decode. I found myself lost in the depths of her eyes, searching for meaning in their quiet intensity. There was a vulnerability there, a trust that both humbled and thrilled me. It was as if we were sharing a secret that no one else could understand. Her foot brushed mine accidentally, a light contact that sent a shiver racing up my spine. I held my breath, caught between wanting to pull away and the desperate need to stay connected. The silence stretched, thick and palpable, wrapping us in its tender embrace. I couldn't stop staring at the delicate curve of her arch, the soft rise and fall of her toes as they flexed slowly. Each movement was a whisper, a gentle pulse that echoed the rhythm of my own yearning. She smiled softly, a knowing look that made my heart ache with longing. It was an invitation, a promise of more to come, and I was ready to follow wherever it might lead. The atmosphere between us lightened, carrying a playful undercurrent beneath the quiet intensity. Her toes wiggled teasingly against my thigh, a soft brush that sent an unexpected thrill through me. There was a mischievous sparkle in her eyes, a hint of laughter dancing behind her calm exterior. She flexed her foot slowly, deliberately drawing out the moment, her skin warm and inviting beneath my gaze. The subtle movement felt like a tease, a challenge wrapped in softness. I felt the tension coil inside me, tight and alive. I dared to respond, tracing my fingers along the delicate line of her ankle, marveling at the softness, the warmth, the exquisite vulnerability she showed without words. Our eyes met again, and the silent exchange deepened, an unspoken game of trust and desire. The room seemed to pulse with energy, charged and electric, yet still gentle and tender. The quiet rhythm of our breaths mingled, creating a harmony that felt like the soundtrack to this new connection. She smiled, a slow, knowing curve of her lips that made my heart race. The night was unfolding in ways I hadn't imagined, each playful touch building the fragile intimacy between us. I felt drawn in, caught in the subtle dance of closeness and distance, anticipation and surrender. And I knew, without a doubt, that this was only the beginning. With every passing moment, the trust between us grew stronger, a quiet foundation beneath the fluttering emotions and whispered promises. Her bare feet rested gently in my hands, soft and warm, every curve alive beneath my touch. I learned to read her rhythms, the way her toes flexed when she was thoughtful, the gentle pressure she applied when she sought reassurance. In turn, she seemed to sense my quiet responses, the way my breath caught or my fingers lingered just a little longer. There were no grand declarations, no hurried words, just a slow, steady unfolding of something rare and beautiful. The space between us filled with an unspoken understanding, a shared intimacy that transcended explanation. Her foot brushed lightly against my skin again, and I felt a surge of warmth that spread through me, calming and exhilarating all at once. The softness of her skin, the gentle rise and fall of her breath, the way her eyes held mine, It all combined to create a moment suspended in time. I found myself wanting to hold on to this, to savor the fragile connection we were building. It wasn't just about desire or fascination. It was about trust, vulnerability, and the quiet power of shared presence. As the night deepened, I knew that whatever came next, we were walking a path together, one marked by tenderness, curiosity, and a bond that grew stronger with each passing heartbeat. That night, as the quiet settled around us, I found myself wanting to speak what had been growing inside me. The unspoken feelings of the soft touches and lingering glances only hinted at. But words felt fragile, too exposed, like delicate glass that could shatter at any moment. Still, I wanted her to know. I wanted her to understand how deeply those moments mattered. How her bare feet resting in my hands, the way her toes flexed with such ease, had become a balm to my restless heart. I never thought something so simple, I began hesitantly, could feel so alive. My voice was barely above a whisper, trembling with vulnerability. She looked at me then, eyes soft and steady, the faintest smile touching her lips. Sometimes, she said quietly, the smallest things hold the deepest meaning. Her words settled over me like a gentle warmth. I dared to reach out, fingers tracing the line of her foot with reverence. The soft skin beneath my touch seemed to pulse with quiet life, a secret shared between us. In that moment, the fragile walls I'd built around my heart began to crumble, replaced by a tender openness I hadn't known I needed. The trust between us deepened, woven through the silent language of touch and look. Her toes curled lightly against my palm, and I felt my breath hitch. It was a subtle confession, a promise unspoken but understood, that this connection, fragile and new, was something we both cherished. The night stretched ahead, filled with possibilities. And for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to hope. Outside, the rain began to fall in steady sheets, tapping softly against the window pane in a gentle rhythm. Inside, the warmth between us grew, cocooning us from the world beyond the glass. She nestled closer on the couch, her bare feet resting lightly on my lap, toes flexing and curling in a slow, hypnotic dance. The soft glow of the lamp cast shadows that flickered across the room, highlighting every delicate curve and line. I traced the gentle arch of her foot with my fingers, marveling at the softness beneath my touch. Each small movement, a twitch of a toe, the subtle press of her heel, sent ripples of sensation coursing through me. The rain's steady patter became a lullaby, its soothing rhythm syncing with the quiet beating of our hearts. The night deepened around us, yet within that room, time seemed to slow, stretching into an endless moment of intimacy. Her eyes met mine, filled with a calm assurance that settled my restless thoughts. The silence between us grew thick, comfortable, a sacred space where words were unnecessary. I felt a profound sense of peace, wrapped in the warmth of her presence and the softness of her bare skin. It was a quiet sanctuary, a refuge from the chaos outside. As the night wore on, the world beyond faded to nothing more than a distant murmur. And in that stillness, I realized that this connection, slow, tender, and electric, was something I wanted to hold on to forever. Our hands and feet became instruments of an unspoken conversation, soft touches that spoke volumes in the quiet. Her foot rested against my thigh, warm and pliant, while my fingers traced slow circles along the delicate curve of her ankle. The contrast of skin against skin was electric, a silent promise held in every gentle brush. I marveled at the way her toes flexed softly under my touch, the slight tremor that ran through her with each movement. It was as though every nerve ending came alive, awakened by the intimacy of our closeness. Her fingers intertwined with mine briefly, grounding me, connecting us in a delicate dance of trust. The rhythm of our breaths mingled, steady and slow, as if we were two halves finally finding each other. The soft pressure of her foot pressing into my leg sent a thrill racing through me. I leaned closer, cupping her heel carefully, cherishing the smooth warmth beneath my hands. Every subtle motion, a twitch, a curl, a gentle brush, wove a tapestry of sensation that bound us tighter. There was no need for words. The language of touch was enough. In that space, I felt completely seen, completely known. The barriers I'd built faded away, replaced by a quiet openness that filled me with both awe and gratitude. We sat together, hands and feet speaking the silent truths that lingered between us, crafting a bond that was as fragile as it was unbreakable. The silence stretched, thick and full, wrapping around us like a velvet cloak. I found myself breathless, caught in the delicate tension that hummed between every touch, every glance. Her foot rested lightly on my lap, the warmth steady and comforting. Yet beneath that gentle pressure was an electric current, a subtle charge that made my heart race and my skin tingle. I dared not move too quickly, afraid to break the spell that had settled over us. Every breath she took seemed to echo within me, syncing with the rapid beat of my own. Her toes flexed slowly, deliberately, and I caught myself holding my breath, mesmerized by the simple grace of that motion. The curve of her arch, the softness of her skin, all spoke to a deeper connection, one that words could never capture. Our eyes met briefly, and I saw the same longing mirrored back at me. The room seemed to shrink, the world outside fading away until nothing remained but the shared space between us. My hands trembled slightly as I reached out, fingers brushing against the delicate line of her ankle. She sighed softly, a sound that sent a shiver rippling through my body. Time slowed, suspended in that breathless moment where everything hung on the edge, fragile, beautiful, and infinite. Her voice was soft but unmistakable, a quiet command that echoed in the stillness. "Kiss them now," she said, nodding toward her feet with a gentle certainty. My heart thundered in response, the air thick with anticipation. The moment I'd been waiting for, both fearful and eager, had arrived. I leaned forward slowly, reverently, the warmth of her skin calling me closer. My lips met the curve of her arch, soft and tender, and a thrill raced through me. Her toes curled around my hand, grounding me in the fragile intimacy of the moment. I kissed each one carefully, savoring the softness, the warmth, the silent language we shared. The world fell away, leaving just the two of us suspended in this delicate, electric connection. She smiled softly, eyes bright with trust, and something deeper, a promise, a beginning. With every kiss, I felt myself surrender more fully to the moment, to her, to the uncharted territory we were exploring together. The simple act of pressing my lips to her bare skin carried a weight I hadn't anticipated. Her foot rested gently in my hands, warm and alive, and I cradled it like a precious secret. The softness beneath my lips sent waves of warmth through me, stirring emotions I'd kept buried for too long. She sighed softly, the sound a quiet invitation to let go, to trust completely. Our eyes met, and I saw the same vulnerability and strength reflected back, a shared surrender to the delicate intimacy we were building. The silence wrapped around us, full and rich, as if the world itself was holding its breath. In that surrender, I found a peace I hadn't known I needed, a quiet certainty that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. The night had deepened into a soft silence that felt both sacred and alive. We sat close, the quiet only broken by the gentle rhythm of our breaths and the faint whisper of the rain tapping against the window. Her bare foot rested lightly in my hands, a warm anchor in the stillness. In that fragile space, secrets seemed to flow between us, not spoken aloud but understood. Every subtle movement of her toes, every gentle flex of her arch, spoke of trust and connection, weaving a delicate thread that tied us together. Her gaze held mine, steady and open, and I felt the walls around my heart dissolve. It was as if we shared a language older than words, one built on presence, softness, and the quiet power of touch. I traced slow circles along her ankle, feeling the smooth skin beneath my fingertips, savoring the electric warmth that pulsed through our connection. The moment was intimate and profound, a shared secret whispered between souls. She shifted slightly, pressing her foot more firmly into my palm, a silent affirmation that this closeness was as real for her as it was for me. The world outside faded further, irrelevant compared to the bond blossoming in that quiet room. No words were needed, just the steady, unspoken conversation of shared presence, trust, and longing. It was a moment of vulnerability and strength intertwined, fragile yet unbreakable. As the night stretched on, I realized that this was no fleeting connection. It was a deep, growing bond, a secret kept between us, held close and cherished. The boundaries between us had begun to blur, shifting like the soft light that played across the room. What had started as fascination and gentle curiosity had deepened into something more complex, tender, fragile, and intensely real. Her bare feet remained a constant presence in my world, their softness and warmth a balm to my restless spirit. Each touch, each glance, each subtle movement carried with it a new meaning, a new layer of intimacy. I found myself navigating uncharted territory, a space where desire and trust coexisted, where vulnerability was met with acceptance. The quiet moments we shared became a sanctuary, a place where labels fell away and only the truth of our connection remained. Sometimes her toes would brush mine accidentally, a fleeting contact that spoke volumes. Other times, she invited my touch with a quiet smile, encouraging me to explore the curves and arches that had become so precious to me. The night air hummed with possibility, filled with unspoken questions and promises. What we had was changing, evolving into something neither of us could fully define, but both longed to explore. With every shared secret and tender touch, the lines between us softened. The roles we once knew shifted, making way for a deeper understanding and acceptance. It was a new beginning, fragile, beautiful, and full of hope. The first light of morning crept gently through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the room. The world outside was quiet, bathed in the pale hues of dawn, but inside, the warmth between us remained vibrant and alive. She lay beside me, her bare feet resting against my skin, familiar, comforting, and deeply intimate. The softness of her touch, the curve of her toes, felt like a secret I was privileged to hold. I watched her sleep, the steady rise and fall of her breath, a soothing rhythm that calmed the lingering restlessness in my heart. The night's revelations had woven a new tapestry between us, one of trust, connection, and unspoken love. As the sun's rays stretched across the room, I felt a profound sense of peace. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, bound by the quiet strength of our shared bond. The morning light illuminated not just the room, but the new chapter we had begun, fragile, beautiful, and filled with endless possibility. And in that light, I knew that this journey was only just beginning.